Morning everyone, we're back at her again. Got the 37 Plymouth up on the hoist here and just getting started on what I've got to do on it. I'll just take you for a little tour, show you what I got to do, what I've already got done. I've been just beating my brains out on dents and fender damage on the front here. I got 20 days to get this done. It's supposed to be going to the body shop on the 21st. So if you remember when I did the grill, there was big dents on both sides, lots of damage. Well, these dents, they carried on across. This was all pushed in here. I beat all that out yesterday. There was a whole bunch of little dents along the side here. I got 90% of them out. So I think it's pretty much ready for the body shop on this side. The other side, totally different story. This is where all the really bad damage was. I've got a lot of it already taken out. There was a dent here. Well, you can see the crease line pushed right in, probably 1.5 inches. The mount that goes to the underbrace here was on here. Tore right out. Some old damage here. Looks like the fender was folded in, cracked all the way up. There was 1/2 inch of lead plugging all this up. There's another crack here, and then back here, this whole lip was folded back. You can see the big crease that goes around here. That was all folded in. It was hit so hard that it took the bottom here next to the running board and it folded it back. So I ended up cutting the brace off on the inside. I started down here. I used a ratchet strap from up on the front there and a pair of vice grips, and I sucked this forward and tapped on the damage that was here. There was a big indentation right here. With that pressure forward, all I had to do was tap on this and the whole thing moved forward. Then I was able to straighten out the edge here, weld the brace back in, and everything was good. Now, because this was so destroyed, I had to do some shrinking. What I do in those places is I just use a welding tip on my propane oxygen torch. I heat about a 1/4 size spot, and then I dolly behind it, and I hammer around the outside of the red spot, slowly working my way to the inside. That pushes the metal to the inside and shrinks it. So I've got 4 spots I had to do here to get this so that it wasn't sticking out from the metal being stretched. So next thing I got to work on is repairing this lip. The wire that's inside the edge of the fender is broken here, and in here they welded in a chunk of, I don't know what it is, 1/4 inch steel rod. It's just a mess. So I believe what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it free. That rod goes to here. So I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to cut it here. And I'm going to make a patch panel that'll come up, take out this crack that was in here, and then I'm going to bring it down so that I just have 2 places where there'll be a seam. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that the wire goes past where my repair is going to go, so that we don't end up with a wire seam here as well as the seam in the steel. So I'm going to get a pattern made for this, and then we can start making the new piece. Okay, so here's the shape of my repair panel. What I did was put 4 layers of masking tape on, and I just kind of roughly marked the start and stop on the where the bead is here. Because this is so messed up, I can't do an exact copy of it. So what I did was I went to the other side, and it's in really good shape, and I transferred that mark onto a piece of beer case, and that's going to give me my radius marks for both the inside and the outside here for putting this bead in. So I'm going to take this off now and transfer it to a piece of steel, get some shape into it, and then we can cut the damaged piece out here and get it ready to put the new piece in. Okay everyone, I got the bad piece cut out of there, and bad piece it is. I'll just show you here. You can see there's a crack been welded up all the way down here. There's another crack there. It's all cracked out at the front here. Big piece of steel rod welded in there. And I found out that this at the front here was all full of lead as well, about 1/4, 3/8 of an inch thick. So I cut my patch according to my tape template, and I broke the line in it here on the bead roller, and then I figured out the depth of the of this bead, and I broke that on the bead roller as well. And I've got this roughed in on the English wheel using the rubber band on top. I've shown that before. I've got to do a little shrinking right in here. It's a little bit bulky to bring this in touch, and then I can clean it up some more. A little bit more English wheel rolling here just to bring this in slightly. Then I'm going to trim this nice and straight, and I'm going to mark from the back side onto this for my cut line. And I've got a piece of number 9 wire bent to the proper arc. I'm going to weld that between the two ends that I have left there. I'll show you that once I take this piece off. And then once I get this all tack welded in, I can bend this edge over onto the 1/4 inch or the number 9 wire, and then I can finish welding this, and we should have a really nice straight repair here. So I'll just get this off of here, and if you want to see, well, I guess I could show you again on the English wheel, just using, again, I use a piece of tire tube. I just went and got a cheap radial tire tube that was the right diameter to fit on the top wheel. What that does is it just introduces shape instead of form, or is it form instead of shape? I always get that mixed up. Anyhow, it only bends the steel in one direction instead of stretching it. Okay, so I've got the piece of number 9 wire welded in. It's exactly the same radius as the other side. And I've been slowly working on trimming up my patch panel. I'm going to do a cut and butt for part of it, but not the whole thing. So this top portion here, I'm hoping I can just do a butt weld, and then I'll cut and butt along here. That's just going to allow me to make sure everything stays in place as I go about doing this. So just going to get it clamped in here again in the right spot, which is tricky in itself. Keeping these body lines and everything lined up is really tricky. There we go. And then the damage in the fender doesn't help either. So. Frickin' vice grips. Garbage! Okay, so going to be a real tricky one trying to get this all welded in here so it doesn't turn to shit on me. So looks like I've got it pretty good here. I've got to spread this top apart a little bit, and then I've just got to trim this a little bit in this corner so that I can get this to sit flush, and then I can tack the two ends here where the body line is, and then I can start working this in up here. Okay, so I'm slowly working my way around here, cutting, and well, this was all cut. I'm up to where I have to start doing the cut and butt here across the top. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more cutting, and I'll just keep working this in, a little bit of tack, get everything nice and flush and parallel, and then take my time welding it in, and I can fold over the bottom lip here over top of the number 9 wire in there. Okay, I've got this all tacked in. I'm going to roll over the edge now on the bottom here, get that all firmed up, and then I can finish welding and grind this, and then a little bit of planishing, and we should have this fender done. Okay, it's all tacked in. I got the edge nice and straight. I got to finish welding it in the morning. I built the bracket for the support in underneath. Looks like we got a real nice shape in the fender. A little bit of a ding in it here I'm going to have to knock out. Can do that really easy. It's right in the center of the piece there. So in the morning I'm going to come out and finish welding, get it all planished, and that'll be it for the front clip, I believe. Nope, I got a little bit of a repair down where the bumper comes through down at the bottom there from when it was damaged. Okay, so we got ourselves another new day here, Sunday morning. Out here, I've got everything welded up, just doing the grind on it now, just knocking the weld down till it's flush. Don't want to take too much material off. This fender's been worked quite a few times, and it's pretty thin in a few spots here. So this was all lead in here up at the front that I had to melt out. I showed that. So I'm just going to keep grinding this. Don't want to put any heat in it. Pretty easy to do that with the grinding disc. I'm using those Cubitron 36 grit. They work really well. But I'm going to get the outside weld ground right off, and then I'll just touch the inside just to knock the bumps off so that I can planish this. And then we'll do the old Bad Chad x-ray on it and see if we have any pinholes here to weld up. Okay, we got it all sanded. All the welds are ground down. It's time to do a little bit of planishing. I just knocked the high spots off on the weld on the back side. It was, I got good penetration. It came through all the way. So got a little bit of a spot that went weird right here. And other than that, there's just a few little divots that the body shop will probably fix. So what I'm going to use for this is my slapper. Won't introduce a bunch of gouges and hacks from a hammer, and my dolly. A little bit of a low spot right here, so I'm going to put the dolly in the center and hit on the what that did was it pushed this metal up into here, took care of that low spot. So okay, I'm going to keep pounding away on this. Once I get her done, I can bring you back and show you the finished product. Okay, it's come out really nice. I've got a little bit of a high spot here, and I think this is where that bad damage was, and it was full of lead, and I think they overstretched it. So I've been using my shrinking disc here, just bringing this down. It's coming down slowly, but I'm just going to have to keep working on it here. Might be a little bit of a low spot here. You can see all the bad file marks and everything from the body shop. when they did this repair many years ago. So you can see all these deep file marks, and I think there's a little bit of a low here. And I know there's still a little bit of a ridge right here. So I'm just going to keep shrinking this, see if I can get it to come down just a little bit more. And then I'm going to leave her for the body shop. Then we'll move on to the next stage, which I think I'm going to work on the doors next. I got bottoms to fix. The whole structure on the bottom of the doors is broke out. Okay guys, that's as far as I'm going to take that fender. I'm not a body man, and I don't want to be a body man. Sure, it's going to be a pretty easy job for them to finish this one off. Ended up being a nice strong repair, and pretty happy with it. We'll carry on with the doors next. So I've got the passenger side door off here, and surprisingly there's not a lot of rust in it. There's a little bit right in this front corner, going to be easy to fix. I'll just have to undo the pinch here, put a triangle in. The biggest problem with these doors is all of this structure here is broken. You can see it's all cracked up here, it's cracked up here, and it's broke the fold over on the skin off. It's even cracked the skin on the outside right here, so I'll have to replace that when I do the repair. So I'm going to build a new a new piece for the structure on the bottom here. The backside's not too bad. There's a little bit of damage right here, and then around the hinges it's also kind of tore out and broke the pinch welds. A little bit of rust right here, so this must have been full of silt and crap. So and then there's just a little bit of straightening out to do. Some of these braces are bent a little bit. This one you can see has kind of got a bit of a wow in it there. So we'll get started on this, and I don't think it's going to be a real rough job. Okay, we're getting this ready to do the repair on it. What I've done is I trimmed back as far on the door skin as I want, get past the bad area here where the crack is on the underside. And then this piece here is cracked, so I'm going to replace a strip from here to here to get rid of all of the stress cracks in it. And then on the front side, I'm going to have to replace from about here down. It's all rusted out right there. So I'll get started on this, get it cut out, and we'll make a new piece to go in there. Okay, here we go again. I got carried away and forgot to bring you along, but anyhow, I broke this piece. It's kind of a Z shape. It comes out for the lip for the door skin to crimp onto, and then I bent it another 90 degrees to go in underneath to stiffen up this this channel on the bottom of the door here. Then I went around and I cut the rust out of this side, and I made this piece that will get welded into here and plug welded to the bottom just like the original one was. So I'm going to get this all set up here and get this welded in, and then can carry on with the skin. I cut the damaged stuff out of the outside there. This is the bad piece I cut out. You can see it's all rusted and pretty beat up. So anyhow, we'll carry on with this. Okay, here we go again, another new day. So I got all of the structure repaired in this corner. Good and solid now. I've got everything cleaned up. And this was completely folded in, so I had to straighten that out, which was a little bit of a chore. This is the piece I cut off. So I have to make a patch for that. Break the edges. This one will be a bit of a bitch. Gonna do it on the bead roller. And then we'll get this piece in here installed. And should be almost done this door. There's one hole up there that the owner wants filled. I guess it had an extra lock or something in it. So there's going to be a fair bit of planishing, and I've also noticed that the hinges are in really bad shape as well. So I've got to figure out what to do to deal with that. Okay, everyone, we got our blank all cut out. I ran it through the English wheel twice, actually, because I did it the wrong side the first time. And just to put a little bit of shape into it so that it follows what's on the door, I'm just going to run it through the tipping dies now to put this 90-degree break on the front edge here. This needs to be really accurate because it forms the shape of the front of the door. So, getting a little. Well, I screwed that up. Too much talking. Probably going to take 3 or 4 times through the bead roller. One of the things I do find that happens is where you come out on the piece, it puts more of a curve in it than a sharp 90. So what I'm going to have to do is take this to a dolly now and get this crisped up so that I can continue on with this bend. Okay, everyone, I got this broke to 90. Now what it's done is it put a tremendous curve in this way. So I'm going to have to use the shrinker to try and take some of that out. Or take all of it out, actually, if I can. Takes a really soft touch when you've got such a light lip. Pretty close. A little bit more here. Okay, so I got that nice and straight again. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a piece of 18 gauge that's got the right shape, and then I'm going to fold this over onto it, forming that trough that I need to go over top of the lip that's on the structure there. Okay, we're all set up here. I had to bring in my trusty old chunk of I-beam. I've got the piece that I need to roll the edge on. Figure out the best way to hammer it here. Everything's not going to be in the way. And then this is the piece that I cut that's got the exact radius that this has to go around. I'm just going to clamp this in here so it can't move. I'm prepared, just don't know for what. Okay, and this has to be right up tight against where I want the fold in it. Keeps slipping back on me. Ooh, not quite that strong. Might as well put 2 clamps on her. Okay, hopefully you're still in frame here. You can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bend this lip over. You want to go nice and slow. Don't try and do one end first, otherwise you'll stretch the hell out of this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get, actually I'll take it down a little bit more. I was going to put a piece of beer case in there, but that'll be too much, so I'm just going to take it down. You don't want to take it down too tight or you won't be able to slide it on your flange. Okay, I'll take this off of here now. I'll try. Don't know my own strength. Okay, so what I've got is that edge is folded over nice and straight. And this piece still slides in and out really nice. So once I get the final fit on this, I can take my dolly and crimp this down the final stage. I'll just take you over and show you on here. The reason I did the curve first is because I want to do this bottom one in the brake. Okay, so now I'm going to have to introduce a little bit of curve in here to follow the edge, and I can probably just do that with a hammer and dolly. There we go. It's got to go in a little bit tighter. I have to trim the bottom and I have to trim the top on it here. So we'll just carry on. I'll get the bottom brake done, then we can do the final trim. And then we can try making a mess of the door, welding this to the skin there. Okay, so I've been fitting this piece, and when I built it, I made it oversized for a reason. There's lots of times when you're trying to fold this edge for the pinch, it goes a little bit askew on you, so you need a little bit of wiggle room to adjust your angle. So I scribed the line here. Starts at 1/4 inch and it fades away to nothing on this end. I'm going to trim that off, clean up the edge, and try another fit on it. Okay guys, I screwed up here. So because of the adjustment I made on the front here by trimming the top, it counteracted on the back, and I should have left this longer on the top edge to begin with, because to try and bend this lip over here with no material, it won't work in the brake. So what I did was I just welded this scab on, which I'll take off later. I'm going to put the bend in now and get this started for the 90-degree bend. That'll be the pinch on the bottom of the door. Okay, I've got the bend in there now. What I'm going to do is trim this back. This only needs to be 3/8 of an inch long. And then I'm going to put a piece of 18 gauge inside again, just like you did up here. And I'm going to hammer this down nice and slowly until it's just kind of a loose fit. And then I can fit this piece to the door. Okay, I've got it all trimmed off, ready to go into the, put it on the piece of I-beam there, get it bent over. Okay, so I got this bent over like the other one. Ended up really good at the end here. If I hadn't welded that little piece on, I never would have got that bend in it. Okay, everyone, that fit in there really, really nice. A little bit of trimming to do on this bottom corner. They're always a little strange because you can't roll it over in the corner. A little bit of trimming to do to get the skin exactly where we want it, and then we can weld this in. Really liking how that's come together. Okay guys, we're just getting this welded up here. I'm using these 25-pound magnets to hold everything flat, and then to just make sure that it stays flat, I have a scraper here that I use. I set it across and adjust any minor adjustments if I can see daylight underneath it, just to make sure that everything stays perfectly flush all the way across. I'm going to continue on tack welding this, and hopefully everything will work out here. I see I've got a little bit low on this panel. What happens is with these 3 tacks, it shrunk and pulled this in too tight. So I'm going to have to try and get in here and planish these. Just give them a couple whacks to spread them back out again. And then I can carry on tacking all the way across. Okay, I've got all my tacks in. I had a little bit of an issue over here. It got tight and there's no way to get inside because all the framework's there. So it's going to have a little bit of a low spot there for the body shop to deal with. So I'm going to let this cool. I really want to take my time welding this. I don't want this door to cave in here because that would be a nightmare. So once I get that done, then I can turn it over. I can tighten up this pinch along the edges there, weld the back side. And then I've got another big job to do on this one. Try and straighten out these hinges because everything is a disaster. Okay guys, we're back again, another new day here. So I got this all welded up, planished out. It needs a little bit of work with the shrinking disc. Got a little bit of a high spot right here and a little bit of a low spot where this hinge was all damaged here. So after working on that for quite a while, and I got everything squared up and straightened, then I had to go to work on these hinges. And they were a complete disaster. They were originally, this one, because the pin was seized up, somebody yarded the door open and bent this hinge back, and it buckled the whole side of the door here. It went up all the way across here. So I had to fix that. The hinges themselves, there's the centerpiece that bolts to the cowl, and then the 2 ears on the outer part, and all of those ears were bent in weird directions. And what I ended up having to do was I built a tool on this piece of bar that I could stick into the lower part of the hinge, and I could bend them up and down until I had them so that they were perfectly parallel with each other. Then I had to take and heat each of the different hinged parts on the door as well as the cowl, and use a straight edge to make sure that they were all parallel this way and this way, which is probably close to about 3.5 hours of work. And then because they were so wore out, I had to make new pins. And next video, I will show you how I made those pins. I took 4.5 inch long 5/16 bolts, rounded the tops on them in the drill press with an angle grinder, cut the threaded parts off, and then I re-drilled all of the pinholes to 5/16 in all of the pieces. Had to make a custom 5/16 drill bit because there isn't enough room to get the drill in here. So I had to weld a piece of 1/4 inch steel rod to the drill bit to be able to drill them all the way through to get them all nice and straight. So the next thing I'm working on here now, and I'm hoping to get this door done today, I'm going to be up to about 10 hours in this bloody thing, is I went to check the gap at the back here, and as soon as I started tapping on this, because it's in too far, this lip is bent in, I found rust holes starting to pop through from about here down. So now I've got to do another repair on the back side here, and then trim the gap back. I marked it with a felt pen. I have to take about 1/8 of an inch off the back edge of the door, so when I make that skin repair, I'll just make sure that it goes in a little bit further there. Okay, we'll get this door removed and carry on with hacking and cutting. Okay guys, so what I've done here is I ground the skin of the door on the back side where I needed the clearance for the gap. I ground it till the seam was off, and I took it down to the line I had. So for me to close this back up, I'll have to take it the width of the 18 gauge that's rolled, or I can see how it looks and I can maybe just weld a strip on and close the seam up with it here. So I'm going to have to take a peek at that and see what I can do. Up here there was a split. Somebody must have ground it for clearance on a previous body job, and it was separated, and I see it's the same thing right here. So I'm going to have to weld this up and then dress it down. So right now I've got this cut back to here. There's a spot weld here, there's a spot weld here, and a spot weld here that I have to remove so that I can remove this inner flange, and then I can start building what I need to fix this. There is a short strip I'm going to have to put in here on the outside to replace where that rust is between the skins. Well, isn't this the gift that just keeps on giving? I was going to cut just 3/4 of an inch off of this edge where these little rust holes are, and I start getting into it, and this is all full of lead here in the corner. So now I have to do another triangle replacement on the bottom here. What a pain in the ass. So anyhow, I've got it marked out. I'm going to cut this off, and I guess we'll go from there. In the meantime, I got this filled up here where there used to be an auxiliary lock hole that somebody put in that wasn't needed, and this was all full of lead up here as well. So fun and games. Well guys, it just turns from bad to worse. I cut this corner out like I'd planned, and that frickin' lead's 1/4 of an inch thick. This whole corner was just full of lead, and I've already ground probably close to 1/8 of an inch off of that. So there would have been 3/8 of an inch of lead in this corner. So now, instead of this half-hour repair, I'm probably going to be into about 3 hours. I'm going to have to go from here back to about there now. So a much longer weld seam on the door, which in itself adds a whole bunch of warp. So I don't know, hopefully it's going to turn out okay. I guess all a guy can do is laugh. So going from 3/4 of an inch down here, I went to that, then I went to that, and now I had to go to this to get rid of all of the damage. So now I've got a nice flat skin, well, the way the skin's supposed to be. So now I'm going to have to make this corner and this curve. I think the curve will put less stress into the panel. So anyhow, that's not even the worst of it. Once I cut this off, I found all of this rust damage in here, so now I got to start on some more structure. Here we go. Okay, we're back again, another new day. I've got the door fit on the body here, just so that I can try and get this corner exactly right. If I don't make my patch panel correct, I'm going to lose my gap, and then I'm going to have to grind my pinch off to adjust it. Just like down here, the pinch on the door it's really wavy, so I have to grind it back and then re-weld it after I make my patch here. So I got all of the structure repaired inside. Took another hour and a half yesterday by the time I got everything dissected and cleared up and ready to go welded in the new steel. So I'm just making my pattern here, and I'm setting my gap. So this is going to be my finished measurement of the patch panel that I'm going to put on once it's folded. So I'll be able to slide it over the door and in place here, and then test fit it before I weld it, just to make sure that everything is exactly right, so I don't have to do a bunch of grinding and then re-welding. So, okay, we're going to cut this patch. We're going to bend over the hems on the bottom, and we'll get this thing fit. Okay, I have my repair blank cut out. I made it just slightly oversized here so that I can do the final fit. I've got my marks where I'm going to break it for the hem. I had to transfer them to the back side because I marked everything on the wrong side as usual. And I've got it marked for top so I can't screw it up. Well, I'm going to take it and I'm going to break these now to as close to 90 as I can. I notched the corner here where it's going to fold at the back, otherwise everything will run into itself. And I might have to trim these back a little further so I can get a better bend in. And then I'm going to use the I-beam and sandwich a piece in between again, just like I did on the front patch. Okay, so by leaving this hem loose, by not pinching it completely tight, it allows you to slide it on and off. Now I had to introduce a little bit of curve to this panel this way because of the shape of the door, and it's pretty much straight on the bottom. So what I've been able to do is slightly trim these corners until I can bring it in and get my gap and my gap on the bottom. And I slid this panel in behind, and now I can scribe a line for my trim mark where I have to trim this to, and then I can start tacking it in. And I believe I'm going to tack it in right on the car here. It's going to allow me to make sure that everything stays nice and straight and flat. Okay, I got this panel down to the scribe line. Now I'm just going to slide it in here. Once the back end intersects, I can get everything started, take it up to where it belongs, and we can check the fit again. A little bit of adjustability. Okay, so I went in a touch too far here. Now, if I can get it to come back just slightly. There we go. I might have to take it off again just for a touch more trimming. This panel's anything but nice. It's got some old damage up there. Okay, I'm going to use my 25-pound magnets again. They work really well. The only issue with them is you can't weld close to them because it really disrupts the weld. So, okay, I've got this pretty nice little tight spot here. I think it'll be good down here. Maybe a little tight. I might have to adjust just a touch more, and then we can start tack welding this in. Okay guys, I got this patch tacked in. It worked out really well. It's probably the best fitting patch I ever put in a door. I had no bind up other than a little bit right at the bottom here where I expected it. So I'm going to take the door off now. I'm going to finish welding it up. I have to grind this back just slightly down here to straighten the line up on the bottom of the door. As you can see, it kind of dips down right from about here, gets tight and touches here. So I'm going to bring it up to this spot, and then I'm going to weld it back together. And the back side here, I'm just going to, I got about this much up here that I have to weld back up, and that's it. And then hopefully this door is done, unless I find any more surprises. But I'll bring you back once I get everything welded and ground. One thing I forgot to show you here is when I ground the back edge off of the door here to improve the gap, I lost the hem, the inside of the door skin, because I ground through it. So I had to cut a piece 3/8 to fit in here, and I will clamp it in place, and then I can tack that down, and then that'll give me the same thickness all the way down that I can grind down for the perfect gap on the door here. Why I'm putting a perfect gap on a door on a car that is everything except perfect, I have no idea. Okay guys, got this all ground, sanded. I used a shrinking disc on it a bit. It's a little bit low right in here, but I think that'll work well for the body shop. Give them a little bit of room. I can planish it a little bit more, but it sure is nice having a really nice fitting door that has even gaps, and the hinges actually work really nice on it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Easy 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour door repair turned into almost 12. Go figure, eh? The car of many hidden secrets. So anyhow, I know this video is starting to get pretty long, so I'm going to end it there. Want to thank everybody immensely. I hit 1,200 subs yesterday, and that's incredible. I never expected at the start to get 12 subs. So anyhow, guys, thanks a whole bunch for following along, subscribing, and watching me pound away on this old crap. Take care, everyone.